Levami le mano di sopra figlio di cane, io sono nipote di Rosa. Take your hands off me, son of a dog. I am Rosa's granddaughter. The words cracked across the ballroom like a rifle shot. Antonio Ricci's hand fell from Elena Ferraro's wrist as if it had been burned. 400 guests stopped breathing at once. Victor Castellano, 81 years old boss emeritus of the most feared family on the East Coast, dropped his cane on the marble floor. And Dominic Castellano felt the blood drain from his face. Because no American-born waitress should have known those words. That dialect had been buried 73 years ago, in a mountain village outside Palermo, in a grave nobody was ever supposed to dig up. Until tonight. My friends, if your heart just skipped a beat, then you already know you're in the right place. Before we go one step further, do me a small favor. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the little bell, and in the comments below, tell me the name of the city where you're watching from tonight. New York, London, Sydney, a small town in Ohio. I read every single one, and I want to see just how far this story is going to travel. Now, let's go all the way back to the beginning of the longest night of Dominic Castellano's life. Dominic Castellano did not walk into the St. Regis ballroom. He arrived into it. There's a difference, and every man in that room knew the difference. The doorman straightened. The string quartet missed half a beat before finding its rhythm again. A United States senator stopped mid-sentence and pretended to be very interested in his glass of scotch. And Dominic, who had not slept properly in 3 years, kept his face perfectly still and kept walking. 42 years old, charcoal suit. No tie. His wife had always hated ties, and he still dressed 3 years after her funeral for a woman who was not there. She should have been here. That was the thought. The only thought. The one that had been turning over and over in his chest since the car had pulled up on Fifth Avenue. Mr. Castellano, a young man, stepped into his path. Black suit, earpiece. A boy Dominic had taught how to throw a baseball when the boy was 9 years old. Tony, sir, your father, he's asking for you. He says it's urgent. My father thinks everything is urgent. Sir, he said, Tony. The boy froze. Dominic leaned in, quiet, almost gentle. Tell my father I will be there when I am ready, not 1 minute before. Yes, sir. And Tony, yes, sir. Smile, you look like a man waiting for a coffin. Tony tried to smile. It came out crooked. Dominic clapped him once on the shoulder and kept walking. 75 years. That was what 400 of the most powerful people in New York had gathered to celebrate. 75 years since Salvatore Castellano, Dominic's grandfather, had stepped off a steamer at Ellis Island with a wooden rosary in his fist and a single name sewn into the lining of his coat. A name Dominic's father, Victor, had refused to speak out loud even once in 81 years of breathing. 75 years of building, 75 years of bearing, 75 years of smiling politely at senators who knew exactly what the Castellano money had cost and exactly how many men were sleeping in the Hudson River because of it. Daddy, Dominic turned, and for one split second, for one stupid, beautiful, heart-stopping second, the chandelier above him got brighter. Sophia, 16 years old, her mother's pearls at her throat, her mother's exact worried face, his entire world walking toward him in a pale blue dress. You're doing the face again, she said. What face? The one where you're telling everyone you're fine and you're not fine. Sophia, Daddy, Mom's been gone 3 years. 3 years tomorrow. You think I don't know what day it is? Dominic swallowed, hard. And for the first time in a long time, he could not find a word to say to his own daughter. I'm okay, sweetheart. You're lying. I know I am. She smiled, barely. At least you admit it. He put his hand on her cheek. It was warm. It was alive. And for one selfish, desperate second, he wished he could scoop her up and carry her out of this building, away from these 400 pairs of watching eyes, away from this life she had been born into and would never, ever escape. Go find your cousins. Dance. Eat something. Don't drink the champagne, I know. Sophia. Yes, Daddy. He hesitated. He didn't know why. He would think about this moment later for the rest of his life, the moment he almost told her, the moment he almost said, something is wrong tonight. Something is very, very wrong. Go home right now. But he didn't say it. He said, I love you. And she said, I love you too, Daddy. And she walked away. That was the last normal conversation Dominic Castellano would have for a very long time. The prickle hit the back of his neck 30 seconds later. Every man in Dominic's line of work knows that prickle. You don't learn it. You're born with it, or you're born without it, and the men born without it are the men who end up on the front page of the New York Post with their shoes missing. Someone was watching him. Not a friend, not a cousin, not an old captain paying his respects. An enemy. Dominic did not turn his head. He did not change his breathing. He simply drifted slow, easy a man looking for the bar, and let his eyes sweep the room the way a fisherman sweeps a dark lake for whatever's moving underneath. Senator Rinaldi already drunk. Judge McCarran pretending he wasn't drunk. The Chinese delegation doing business without saying a word. The Russian brothers who shouldn't have been invited, but whom his father had insisted on in a voice that left no room for argument. And then there, by the east doors, a man in a white dinner jacket, a glass of red wine in his hand, a small, thin smile, staring directly at Dominic Castellano like a man staring at a debt that had finally come due. Antonio Ricci. Dominic's lungs stopped. Antonio Ricci had not been invited to this party. Antonio Ricci had not been invited to any Castellano event in 15 years. Because 15 years ago, in a parking garage in Queens, Antonio Ricci had put 2 bullets into the back of Dominic's Uncle Enzo's head, and every single person in this ballroom, every senator, every judge, every waiter, every cousin knew it. And here he was, smiling, in a white dinner jacket. "Domenico!" The voice came from behind his left shoulder. Rough, old, heavy with a Sicilian accent that 3 generations in America had not been able to file down. "Pop, you see him. I see him. You see him, but do you understand? He's here to send a message." "No." Victor Castellano's voice dropped so low that Dominic had to lean down to catch it. "He's here to collect one." Dominic turned his head very slowly and looked at his father. "Pop, what did you do?" The old man did not answer. He simply turned with that terrible, stubborn dignity of his and limped toward the green room, refusing as always to lean on the cane he needed more than air. Dominic stood there, in a $3,000 suit, in a ballroom full of people who would have crawled over broken glass for his attention. And for the first time in a decade, Dominic Castellano was afraid. 2 floors beneath him, in a service kitchen that smelled of burnt butter and someone's cigarette, Elena Ferraro was staring at a tray of 12 champagne glasses and praying to a god her grandmother had taught her how to talk to. "Please, please, just one night. Just let me get through one night." Ferraro, the head caterer, snapped his fingers. Bald Irishman, face like a potato that had lost a fight. "Yes, sir." "You're up. Floor 7, ballroom, east side. Listen to me very carefully, sweetheart, because I don't like repeating myself. You do not approach the head table. You do not look at the guests of honor. You do not speak unless you are spoken to. You keep that tray full, your mouth shut, and your eyes on the carpet. Are we clear?" "Yes, sir." "Say it back to me. Tray full, mouth shut, eyes on the carpet." "Good girl." He walked away. Elena exhaled. Her hands were shaking. She hated that they were shaking. 26 years old, master's degree in Italian literature from NYU, $482 in her bank account, a grandmother dying in a bed in Brooklyn Methodist Hospital, a surgery bill that was somehow impossibly $47,000. And tonight, if she could just smile and not spill and not trip, she would walk out of this hotel with $600 cash in her apron. $600. She whispered it like a prayer. $600. $600. $600. She stepped onto the service elevator. She pushed the button for floor 7. And as the elevator began to rise, Elena Ferraro had no idea, not a whisper, not a shadow of an idea, that the doors of that elevator were about to open onto the night that split her entire life in half. A before and an after. He felt her before he saw her, a warm weight against his chest, a sharp little gasp, 12 champagne flutes hitting the marble floor all at once, like a chandelier falling out of the sky. Oh my God, I'm so sorry," her voice. That was the first thing that went into him. Before her face, before her eyes, her voice. "Sir, I'm so sorry. Please don't tell my supervisor. I can pay for them. Stop." She was already on her knees, picking up shards of glass with her bare fingers. Stop! You'll cut yourself! Stop! She looked up, and Dominic Castellano, who had stopped being surprised by human faces when he was 22 years old, stopped breathing. Because he knew her. He did not know how he knew her. He did not know from where. But somewhere, somehow, he had seen those exact dark eyes before. And God help him, they were looking up at him like they recognized him too. Get up, he said, softer than he meant to. The glasses. Someone will handle the glasses. Get up. She got up. She was trembling. What's your name? Elena. Elena what? A pause, a tiny, tiny pause. And then Ferraro. Elena Ferraro. The name meant nothing to him, nothing at all. And yet at the sound of it, something deep inside Dominic Castellano's chest, something he could not name, turned over like a body in a grave. Ferraro, he repeated. Yes, sir. Where are your people from, Elena Ferraro? She blinked. Sir, your family, Sicily, Calabria, Naples, where? I don't really know, sir. My grandmother came over from Italy, but she doesn't talk about it. I think somewhere near Palermo. The word Palermo went through Dominic's body like cold water. Miss Ferraro, the caterer marching down the hall, face purple. Sir, I am so sorry. She's brand new. She will be dismissed immediately. She stays. Patty, the caterer, stopped walking. I'm sorry, sir. She stays on the floor tonight. You will not speak to her about the glasses. You will not dock her pay. You will give her a fresh tray, and you will leave her alone. Are we understanding each other, Patrick? Yes, Mr. Castellano. Yes, sir. Of course, sir. Patty fled. Elena Ferraro was staring at Dominic the way a person stares at a car that has just stopped 6 inches from running them over. Castellano, she whispered. Yes. Like the Castellanos, the family, this entire party is for... Yes, she took a step back. He watched her do it. He watched her pretty, frightened face reassemble itself into something older. Something harder. Something that understood exactly what kind of man she was standing in front of. And he felt something he had not felt in 3 years. 4 months and 16 days twitched just once somewhere underneath his ribs. He hated it. He didn't even know what it was. He just knew he hated it. Miss Ferraro. Yes, sir. Go back to work. Stay on the east side of the ballroom. Do not under any circumstances approach the green room. And if you see a man in a white dinner jacket with a wine stain on his cuff, you drop your tray and you go home. Do you understand me? Sir, I wipe hein. Do you understand me, Elena? Yes, sir. Good. He walked away, but he looked back. Once, and so did she. In the green room, Victor Castellano was pouring grappa into a crystal glass with a hand that for the very first time in his son's memory was not quite steady. You left him down there. He won't do anything in public, Pop. Don't you tell me what Antonio Ricci will or will not do. I knew his father when his father was still dragging bodies out of the Hudson with his own bare hands. Sit down. Dominic did not sit down. Pop, there is a girl. Sit down. There is a girl downstairs, a waitress. Her name is Ferraro. Victor's hand stopped pouring. The grappa bottle hovered in midair. For a long, long moment, the old man did not move. He did not speak. He did not breathe. Then very slowly, he set the bottle down. Say that again, Domenico. Her name, Dominic said slowly, is Elena Ferraro. Her grandmother is from Palermo. Her grandmother does not like to talk about it. And Pop, she looked at me like she knew me. Victor Castellano lowered himself into the leather chair behind him like a man whose legs had just been cut out from under him. Madonna mia, he whispered. Pop. Madonna Santa. Pop, what in God's name? Sit down, Dominic. I don't want to sit down. Sit down. Dominic sat. His father rubbed a hand across his face. An old man's hand. A hand that had, in the course of 60 years, held the throats of 12 men and the cheeks of 4 grandchildren. Your grandfather, Victor began, and his voice cracked. He cleared it. He began again. Your grandfather, Salvatore, in 1951, took an oath, a blood oath, with a woman. A woman. A Sicilian woman from the old country. A woman he had loved when he was 19 years old, and the world was a different place. Her name was Rosa. Dominic went very still. Rosa what, Pop? Rosa Ferraro. The room tilted. In 1951, Victor went on, Salvatore built something, a vault, in a warehouse on Pier 9 down at the harbor. And in that vault, he buried every secret this family owns, every name he ever bought, every judge, every senator, every body, every dollar, written down, in his own handwriting, every single one. Pop. And he locked the vault with a key Domenico, a solid gold key. And that key, that one key, the only key in the world, he put into the hand of Rosa Ferraro. And he made her swear on the grave of her own mother that she would carry it back to Sicily and keep it hidden until the day she died. And did she? She did. She went back to Palermo in 1952. She got married, she had a son, and when her son grew up, he came to America, and he had a daughter. Dominic could barely speak. Elena. And the key Domenico is still in that family, somewhere in a box in an attic, around an old woman's neck, somewhere. And if Antonio Ricci has figured out what I think he has figured out, if he knows that girl is on the 7th floor of this hotel tonight, Victor's voice broke completely. Then that girl will be dead before midnight. Her grandmother will be dead by sunrise. And whatever is written on those papers will come out Dominic. All of it, every name, every crime, 73 years of this family's sins. And when that happens, this family does not survive it. Your daughter does not survive it. You and I do not survive it. Dominic was already standing up. Pop, go. Pop, what am I doing? You are bringing her to me, Domenico. You are getting her off that floor. You are getting her into this room right now before he does. Dominic hit the door running. On the 7th floor, Elena Ferraro was walking slowly along the east wall of the ballroom with a fresh tray of champagne balanced on her forearm, and she was thinking about her grandmother. She was thinking about the way her grandmother always tucked the quilt up to her chin at night. She was thinking about the little wooden cross above her grandmother's hospital bed. She was thinking about the $47,000 she did not have. She did not see the man in the white dinner jacket step out from behind the marble column. She did not see him lift his glass of red wine. She did not see him smile. "Excuse me, miss. I seem to be lost. Could you help me?" She jumped. 2 glasses clinked. None fell. "Sir, I'm sorry, I'm new. I don't know the building. I can find my supervisor." "Oh, I don't need your supervisor, sweetheart. Just you. What's your name?" "Elena, sir." "Elena what?" "Ferraro." And Antonio Ricci's face smooth, smiling, handsome, in the ruined way of men who have done terrible things for a living, changed. Not angry, not surprised, hungry, like a wolf that had just been handed on a silver dish the shadow it had been chasing for 30 years. "Ferraro," he said softly. "Well, sweetheart, isn't that something?" He took a step closer. She stepped back. The wall stopped her. "Your grandmother, Elena, is she still alive?" "Sir, I please. Is she still alive?" "Yes." His hand closed around her wrist. Elena felt every single finger. "You and I," Antonio Ricci whispered, leaning down until she could smell the wine on his breath, "are going to take a very short, very quiet walk to the service elevator. You're not going to scream. You're not going to drop that tray, because if you do, Elena, if you do, I am going to send a man to your grandmother's hospital room tonight, and he is going to do something to that sweet old woman that is going to take her 3 days to die from. Do you understand me?" Elena's vision went white. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. And then from the other end of the ballroom, cutting across 400 conversations, like a blade through silk, came Dominic Castellano's voice. "Antonio!" Antonio Ricci did not let go. He only turned his head, slowly, still smiling. "Domenico, what a lovely party. I was just making friends with one of your lovely staff. Take your hand off her." "Oh, I don't think I will. I think Elena and I are going to finish our little chat in private." Every man in Dominic Castellano's security detail moved at exactly the same second. Coats opened, hands slid inside jackets. The string quartet mid-note simply stopped playing. 400 guests, senators, judges, old ladies in diamonds turned their heads at once. Sofia Castellano, halfway across the room, went absolutely still. Victor Castellano, gripping the frame of the green room doorway, whispered, "Madonna." Madonna mia. And Elena Ferraro, 26 years old, 5'4", in a borrowed black dress she had never wanted to wear, opened her mouth. She did not plan what came out. She did not choose it. She did not even, in the normal sense of the word, think it. Something inside her rose up. Something older than she was. Something her grandmother had whispered into her ear every single night when she was a baby in a crib in Brooklyn, whispered in a dialect Elena had long forgotten she had ever heard. The old mountain Sicilian of the villages outside Palermo. The dialect of Nonas and Buried Oaths. The dialect of Rosa Ferraro. The dialect that had been sleeping in Elena's blood for 73 silent years. And in a voice that did not quite belong to her, Elena Ferraro said, Livami li manu di supra figlio di cani, Yusugnu aniputi di Rosa. Take your hands off me, son of a dog. I am Rosa's granddaughter. The ballroom went dead silent. Antonio Ricci's hand fell from Elena's wrist as if it had been burned. Victor Castellano's cane hit the marble floor with a sound that, in that silence, rang like a gunshot. And across the ballroom, Dominic Castellano, 42 years old widower, father boss of the most dangerous Italian family on the eastern seaboard, looked at the shaking young woman in the borrowed black dress. And he understood with a cold certainty that settled into his bones like winter that the longest, bloodiest, most dangerous night of his entire life had not even begun. The silence lasted 3 full seconds. In a room of 400 people, in a room where a string quartet had been playing a Vivaldi concerto 90 seconds earlier, 3 full seconds of silence is an eternity. Then Antonio Ricci laughed. It was a quiet laugh, almost admiring. The kind of laugh a man gives when somebody has just played a card he did not know was in the deck. Well, he said softly. Well. He took one slow, deliberate step backward from Elena Ferraro, then another. He lifted both hands, palms out, fingers, spread the universal gesture of a man who is not reaching for a weapon, and he smiled. Domenico, he called out pleasantly, my sincere apologies. I had no idea who the young lady was. I was only asking her for directions. Get out of this hotel, Antonio. I'm leaving right now. The smile did not move. But Domenico, you and we're going to have a conversation very soon. You know we are. Get out. Antonio Ricci nodded almost graciously. He set his wine glass down on the nearest table. He buttoned his white dinner jacket. He turned with the slow, unhurried ease of a man who knows nobody in this ballroom is going to touch him tonight. Not with 400 witnesses, not with 2 United States senators 15 feet away, and he walked at his own chosen pace out the east doors. He did not look back. Elena Ferraro could not move. Her legs had stopped working somewhere during the 7 Sicilian words she did not remember saying. Her tray was still in her hand. 11 glasses still upright. The one closest to her thumb, was slowly, silently overflowing down her wrist. Dominic Castellano reached her in 6 long strides. Put the tray down. Sir, I can't. I have to, my supervisor. Put the tray down, Elena. She put the tray down on the carpet, on her knees, because her legs had finally given out. Stand up, sweetheart. Look at me. Stand up. I can't. Yes, you can. Hand. She gave him her hand. He pulled her to her feet. His grip was warm and enormous and absolutely terrifyingly gentle. Walk with me. Don't look at anyone. Don't talk to anyone. Just walk. Sir, my tray. Forget the tray. They'll fire me. Elena. He leaned down. His voice was almost a whisper. Nobody is firing you tonight. Nobody is ever firing you again. Walk with me. Now. She walked with him. The ballroom had started breathing again slowly in scattered little clumps, an old woman fanning herself with a napkin, a senator muttering into his wife's ear, the string quartet stumbling back into a different Vivaldi than the one they'd been playing. But every single eye in that room was tracking Dominic Castellano and the shaking waitress on his arm. Every single one. Sofia Castellano stepped out of the crowd directly into her father's path. Daddy? Not now, Sofia. Daddy, who is she? Not now. You said nothing was wrong tonight. You looked me in the face 30 minutes ago. Daddy and you said, Sofia Maria Castellano. His daughter stopped talking. Her father had not used her full name since she was 11 years old. Go find your Aunt Carmela. Stay with her. Do not leave her side. Do you understand me? Daddy, do you understand me? Sophia's dark eyes, her mother's exact stubborn eyes filled with tears. Not sad tears, furious ones. Yes, Daddy. Good girl. He did not look back at her. He could not afford to. He walked Elena across the marble floor, past the green room door, down a short private corridor he had walked 1,000 times in his life, and into a small side parlor that only 4 people in the Castellano family had keys to. He closed the door. He locked it. He turned. Elena Ferraro was standing in the middle of the room, both arms wrapped around herself, shaking like she had just been pulled out of the East River in January. Sit down. I don't want to sit down. Elena, who are you people? Her voice cracked on the word people. Who are you? Who was that man? Why did he say that about my grandmother? Why did I, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Elena, breathe. I don't speak Sicilian, sir. I have never spoken Sicilian in my life. I took 2 years of French in high school. I don't, what just came out of my mouth. You spoke the truth. I spoke what? The door behind Dominic opened. Victor Castellano stepped through it. He had left his cane on the ballroom floor. He was leaning instead on the shoulder of his oldest captain, Joey Marchetti, a bald man of 70 who had not left Victor's side in 31 years. Victor's face was gray. His lips were pressed into a single white line. He let go of Joey. He took 2 unsteady steps into the room. He stopped in front of Elena Ferraro. And for a long, long moment, Victor Castellano did not speak. He only looked at her. He looked at her forehead, her cheekbones, the line of her jaw, the shape of her hands, the way she stood with her right foot turned slightly inward. Then very quietly he said, Tu hai l'occhi di tua nonna. Elena's head jerked up. I'm sorry. You have your grandmother's eyes. You don't even know my grandmother. Victor Castellano's mouth did something strange. Not a smile, nothing like a smile. Something older, something sadder, something Dominic had never seen on his father's face in 42 years of knowing him. I knew her figlia mia. I knew her when your grandmother was 18 years old, and your grandfather, my own father, loved her more than he ever loved my mother. May God forgive him, and may God forgive me for telling you that on the night we meet. Elena staggered backward until her legs hit the back of a chair. She sat down, not because she wanted to, because her body gave out. No, but yes. No, my grandmother worked in a bakery in Brooklyn for 41 years. My grandmother doesn't know anybody like you. My grandmother doesn't. Your grandmother, Victor said quietly, is Rosa Maria Ferraro, born September 3rd, 1931, in the village of Piana degli Albanesi, outside Palermo. Her mother's name was Graziella. Her father's name was Tommaso. She had a younger brother named Luca, who drowned in a well in the summer of 1939. She came to America in 1950 on the steamer Vulcania. She met my father on a Tuesday at a fish market in Red Hook, Brooklyn. And she was the only woman my father ever got down on his knees and asked to marry him. Victor's voice did not change. She said no. Elena was not breathing. She said no. Victor repeated gently because she had already promised her heart to a boy back in Sicily, a boy named Giuseppe Ferraro. And your grandmother, Elena, was a woman who kept her promises. So she took a gift from my father, one single gift, and she sailed home to Piana degli Albanesi, and she married Giuseppe, and she never spoke my father's name out loud again. Not to anyone. What gift? Victor looked at his son. Dominic's jaw was tight enough to crack a tooth. A key, Elena, Victor said. A solid gold key, on a chain, small, about the size of your thumbnail. She wore it under her dress for the rest of her life, and she swore on the grave of her own mother that she would never, ever take it off, and she would never, ever tell a living soul what it opened. Not her husband, not her son, not her granddaughter. He paused. Has your grandmother ever worn a small gold key around her neck, Elena? Elena's hand went to her own throat, unconsciously the way a person touches a scar. She always wears it. She's worn it every day of my life. She sleeps with it on. She showers with it on. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Elena, listen to me. She's in the hospital. She's in Brooklyn, Methodist. She has the key around her neck right now. Oh God, that man said he would send somebody to her hospital room. Elena tried to stand up, her legs buckled. Elena, I have to go to her. I have to get to her. Please, please, I need to. Elena, stop. Dominic was already on his phone. Tommy, listen to me. Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. I need 8 men there in 20 minutes. Not ours. Pull from the Maglione crew. They can't be traced to us. The patient's name is Rosa Ferraro. She's elderly. She's in surgical recovery. I don't have her room number. You find that room and you put a man inside it and 3 men in the hallway, and you do not let anyone through that door who is not wearing a hospital badge you have personally verified with their supervisor. Am I clear? Boss, what am I looking for? A man, maybe 2, sent by Antonio Ricci. They will try to take something from the old woman's neck. They will not care if she lives through it. A pause. Tommy, if they are already there, if there is already somebody in that room, you do what you have to do and I will handle the rest. Are we understanding each other? Yes, boss. Go. Dominic hung up. Elena was staring at him with a kind of horror he had not seen on a woman's face in 20 years. I just saved your grandmother's life, possibly, if we're fast enough. He put the phone in his inside jacket pocket. His eyes did not leave hers. Elena, listen to me very carefully. Right now, tonight, there is a man named Antonio Ricci who believes correctly that your grandmother is wearing the only key to a vault in a warehouse that holds every single piece of paper my grandfather ever signed his name to. Every bribe, every murder, every name, 73 years worth. And Antonio Ricci wants those papers, Elena, not to destroy them, to use them. To use them how? To burn this family to the ground, to take everything we've built, to take everything he believes that my grandfather stole from his grandfather in 1951. Dominic's voice went flat. And to become in the process the most powerful man on the eastern seaboard. I don't even know you people. I know. Why are you telling me this? Because in about 30 seconds, Elena, you are going to have to make a choice. And I don't want you to make it with a lie in your ear. What choice? Victor Castellano answered from his chair. Your grandmother is dying, Elena. Elena turned to him sharply. She's not dying. She has a surgery. She is 94 years old, child. The surgery will buy her at the most another 2 years. Your grandmother knows this. She has known this for a very long time, and she has not given you the key. Because she doesn't want me to know. No figlia, because she wants you to earn it. Elena went still. Your grandmother, Victor said very quietly, has been waiting for 73 years for a Castellano to come and ask her for that key. And when that Castellano comes, she is supposed to decide in that moment whether the man asking deserves to open the vault, or whether she should take the key into the grave with her and let every name rot inside that warehouse until the end of the world. That is the oath she swore, Elena, to my father, 73 years ago, on her own mother's grave. Elena opened her mouth. She closed it. She opened it again. And now you want her to give it to you. I want her to give it to my son. Victor looked at Dominic. Before Antonio Ricci puts a bullet in her forehead and takes it. Elena stood up. This time her legs held her. Her face had gone through a lot in the last 10 minutes. Fear, confusion, terror. But what was on it now was something entirely different. Something Dominic Castellano had not expected, and something Victor Castellano had not seen on the face of a young woman in a very, very long time. It was fury. My grandmother, Elena said quietly, is the kindest woman who has ever lived. Yes. My grandmother has baked bread for the homeless shelter on 4th Avenue every single Sunday for 39 years. I know, Elena. My grandmother did not know what that key opened. Did she? Victor was quiet. Did she? No, Victor said. She did not. My father never told her. He only told her to guard it and that one day a man would come to ask for it and that she would know in her heart whether to give it to him. Then why? Elena said, her voice rising, are you and your son trying to take something from a 94-year-old woman in a hospital bed who does not even know what it opens? Because if we don't, Elena, Antonio Ricci will. Then let him take it. The room stopped. Dominic blinked. Elena, let him take it. Let him have it. Let him burn all of you to the ground. None of this is her fault. None of this is mine. I am a waitress. I just came here to make $600. I don't want any of this. She was crying hard, shaking her hands over her face. Dominic Castellano, who had sat across the table from heads of state, who had ordered the deaths of 4 men before breakfast, who had not touched another woman since the morning he had buried his wife, took one step toward Elena Ferraro. He did not know why. He did not know what he was going to do. He stopped himself. Elena. She did not look at him. Elena, look at me. She looked up. If we let Antonio Ricci take that key, Dominic said softly, he kills your grandmother. Not because he needs to, because he wants to. Because he wants to send a message to me. And then he takes the papers in that vault, and he uses them to put my father in a federal prison, and me in the ground, and my 16-year-old daughter, a 16-year-old girl who has done nothing to anybody in her entire life, into the kind of life no father ever wants his child to live. He took a slow breath. And your family, Elena, your grandmother's family, the Ferraros of Piana degli Albanese, becomes the family that destroyed my family. Forever. Generations. Your children will grow up with a last name that has a bounty on it, and Antonio Ricci will own that bounty. That is how this world works, Elena. That is a world I did not ask to be in. Nobody asked to be in it. Dominic's voice dropped to almost nothing. I didn't ask to be in it. My daughter didn't ask to be in it. Your grandmother didn't ask to be in it. But you are in it, Elena. You have been in it since the second you were born. And the reason you are in it is because 73 years ago, a young Sicilian woman who was brave and stubborn and beautiful said no to the wrong man and took a key she did not understand. And she carried it halfway around the world, and she taught her son to carry it, and she taught her son to teach his daughter the old mountain Sicilian of her village, even if her son forgot to. And that is why 30 minutes ago, when a killer grabbed your wrist, words came out of your mouth that you did not know were in you. Because they have always been in you, and your grandmother has been waiting your whole life for you to find them. Elena Ferraro sank back into the chair. She did not speak for a long time. Dominic did not push her. Victor did not push her. Joey Marchetti by the door did not move or breathe. Finally, Elena whispered, I want to see her. Elena, I want to see my grandmother. I want to see her right now. I want to sit next to her bed, and I want to hold her hand, and I want to ask her myself with my own mouth if any of this is true. And if she says yes, if she says one word of yes, then I will make my own decision about that key. Not you, not your father, me. Dominic looked at his father. Victor Castellano nodded once. Take her, the old man said. Take Joey, take 4 of our men, take 2 cars, go in the back way. Do not use the main entrance of that hospital. Do not let her out of your sight for 1 single second. Pop, the party. The party does not matter anymore, Domenico. The party has not mattered since the second that girl opened her mouth downstairs. Go. Dominic turned to Elena. Can you walk? Yes. Can you run? If I have to. You may have to. Let's go. He took her elbow. Not her hand, just her elbow. He steered her toward the door. Joey Marchetti had already opened it. And then Dominic Castellano's phone rang. He pulled it out of his jacket. He glanced at the screen. He froze. Tommy? Boss? Tell me. A long, terrible pause on the other end of the line. Boss, I'm at the hospital. We're at the room 416. I'm looking at the bed right now. And, boss, the bed's empty. Dominic's blood went cold. What? The bed is empty. The sheets are thrown back. The IV is still in the pole, boss, but the line is cut. There's a chart on the floor. And there's a nurse out here crying because she says she was gone for 4 minutes, boss. 4 minutes. She came back and the old woman was gone. Tommy. And boss, there's something else. What? There's a note on the pillow, handwritten, 3 words. Read it to me. Tommy's voice went quiet. Tick-tock, Domenico. The line went silent. Dominic Castellano closed his eyes for exactly 1 second. Then he opened them. And when he opened them, Elena Ferraro was staring at him with a face that already somehow knew. What? She whispered. What? What happened? What did he say? Dominic slid the phone back into his pocket. He looked at Elena. He did not lie to her. He would never for the rest of the time he knew her lie to her. They have your grandmother, Elena. Elena Ferraro did not scream. That was the part that Dominic would remember later when he tried to piece together how a 26-year-old waitress in a borrowed black dress had become in the space of 15 minutes the most dangerous woman in the state of New York. She did not scream. She did not cry. She did not sit down. She simply said very quietly, "Take me to that hospital, Elena. Take me to that hospital, Dominic." It was the first time she had said his first name. He noticed it. She did not. "Elena, she's not there anymore. I don't care. There will be something. Something on the floor. Something on the pillow. Something she left for me. My grandmother does not leave a room without leaving a message. She has been leaving messages for me my entire life. If they took her out of that bed, there is something in that room she meant for me to find. Take me. Now." Dominic looked at his father. Victor Castellano nodded once. No hesitation. "Go." They went. Joey Marchetti was already in the quarter earpiece and talking low and fast. Two more men cousins of Joey's boys Dominic had known since they were playing stickball on Mott Street fell in behind them as they moved. No running. Running drew eyes. A controlled walk fast but not panic down the back service corridor, past the kitchens, into the freight elevator, and out the back loading dock where two black SUVs were already idling with the doors open. Elena, back seat, middle, between me and Joey. "I can sit by the window." "You sit in the middle." She did not argue. The door slammed. The SUV shot forward. Joey was already on the phone. Tommy, we're 10 minutes out. Tell me everything. Everything. Don't leave anything out." Tommy's voice came through the car's speaker, quick and tight, a man running down a hallway. "Boss, it's bad. It's really bad. Oh." "Okay, listen. The nurse on the floor, her name is Keisha. She's a good kid. She's been on 4 East for 11 years. She says she was doing her rounds. She says the patient in 416, Ms. Ferraro, had pressed her call button about 11:15, complaining about her IV. Keisha went in, checked the IV, adjusted it, everything normal. She says the old lady was sharp as a tack, talking, joking, asking when her granddaughter was coming. Elena made a small sound. Dominic did not look at her. Keep going. Keisha leaves the room at 11:22, confirmed by the badge swipe on the door. At 11:26, 4 minutes later, the call button goes off again in 416. Keisha's at the nurse's station. She's tied up with a code on another floor. She tells an orderly new guy, started 2 weeks ago, to go check on 416. The orderly goes in, comes out 30 seconds later, tells Keisha the old lady is fine, just wanted some water. He got it for her. That orderly? Yeah, that orderly, boss. Name. He's listed in the hospital system as Miguel Santos. Started October 14th. Background check clean. Too clean. The guy doesn't exist, boss. I had Benny run him 6 different ways on the drive over. Social security number traces back to a Miguel Santos who died in a car accident in New Jersey in 2019. So the orderly is the one who took her, wheeled her out in a gurney with a sheet over her, walked her right down the service elevator, right out the loading dock, right into a panel van, right out onto 6th Street. Hospital cameras caught all of it, confirmed on tape. Nobody stopped him because, boss, he's an orderly moving a patient. That's the job. That's what an orderly does. What about the note? A pause. Note's in my hand, boss. Handwritten. 3 words. Tick-tock, Domenico. Same handwriting as the letter Antonio Ricci sent you last Christmas. You sure? I'm sure, boss. Any sign of her being hurt? No blood. No sign of a struggle. She went with him, boss. The nurse says she was sitting up in bed talking. She says, and I quote, the orderly leaned over and whispered something in the old lady's ear, and the old lady's face went white, and she just put on her slippers and got on the gurney. Elena closed her eyes. He told her, she whispered. Dominic turned to her. He told her what, Elena? He told her something about me, something about where I was. That is the only thing that would have made my grandmother leave that hospital bed on her own 2 feet. You think I know him, Dominic? I've never met him. I have never seen that man before in my life, but I know him because I know my grandmother. And the only thing on this earth that would have made Nonna Rosa put her feet on the floor tonight is somebody telling her that her granddaughter was in danger. Me. Dominic's hands closed into fists on his knees. He used you as bait. He used you to bait her out of the hospital. Yes. He knew you were at the party before he came. Yes. He was never there for me tonight, Elena. He was there for you. I know. Joey Marchetti behind the wheel caught Dominic's eye in the rearview mirror. A look passed between them. A look Elena was not meant to see and did not see. Something very old. Something that had been between those two men since they were 15 years old and had done their first bad thing together in the back of a restaurant in Little Italy. Boss, Joey said quietly, if he's had her in a van since 11:26, we are 1 full hour behind him. He could be anywhere in the 5 boroughs. He's not anywhere in the 5 boroughs. How do you know? Because he doesn't want to chase. He wants a meeting. Dominic pulled out his phone. He did not dial. He waited. 14 seconds later, the phone rang. Private number. No ID. He put it on speaker. Domenico. Antonio Ricci's voice, calm, almost gentle, like a man calling a cousin on a Sunday afternoon. Where is she, Antonio? She's safe. She's very comfortable. She's had a cup of tea. She's a lovely woman, Dominic. You know, I had a grandmother like her once. Same hands. Same way of holding a teacup. Where is she? I'm going to tell you where she is, Dominic. I'm going to tell you exactly where she is. But first, we're going to have a little conversation about manners. About what a man does when another man brings an invitation to a party and the hosts of the party throw him out. Antonio, because that was rude, Dominic. That was very, very rude. In front of 400 guests, and I'm an old-fashioned man. I don't like to be made a fool of in front of senators. What do you want? I want what your grandfather stole from my grandfather in 1951. I want every page, every name, every dollar, every body. I want it by sunrise. I want it delivered by you personally to a location I will give you in 90 minutes. And I want your father, your dear, sweet 81-year-old father, to come with you. Because your father and I, Dominic, we have unfinished business. That goes back longer than you've been alive. And in exchange, I let the old woman go, alive, walking, with the key still around her neck. Nothing has been taken from her. I am a gentleman, Dominic. I have not laid a single finger on Rosa Ferraro. I have told her very honestly that she is the guest of an old admirer of her husband's from the village, and that she is being kept safe until her granddaughter can come and collect her. A soft laugh. She believes me, Dominic. Isn't that sweet? She believes me completely. Elena's hand covered her mouth. Antonio, if you hurt her, if I hurt her, Dominic, you will come for me. Yes, I know. I'm not going to hurt her. I don't need to hurt her. I just need the key. I just need you to come and bring the key to me yourself so that I can open your grandfather's little vault and take what is mine and walk away from this city forever. Mine. Yours, Dominic. The papers in that warehouse were written in your grandfather's hand, but every name on them, every bribe, every favor. Half of those names belong to my family. Your grandfather kept them as insurance against us. He kept those papers as a gun pointed at the head of my father. For 73 years, the Castellano family has had a gun pointed at the Ricci family. Well, tonight, Dominic, I am taking the gun. You will not walk out of this city alive, Antonio. Oh, I think I will. A pause. Because you are forgetting the last piece. You see, if I do not walk out of this city alive, if you kill me, or if you try to trace this call, or if you send police, or if you send your men, then there is a second man, Dominic, a man with a phone, a man who is sitting in a car outside a very specific apartment building. And if that man does not hear from me every 30 minutes, he is going to walk into that building and he is going to knock on the door of apartment 4B and he is going to take your daughter, Sophia, out of her bedroom, Dominic, and she is going to become my guest, along with the old woman. The SUV swerved. Joey, Dominic said. Got it, boss. Already calling the apartment. Antonio, you listen to me. You listen to me very carefully. I'm listening, Dominic. If my daughter is touched, if she is breathed on, if a wrong wind blows on her, I will find you. I will find your brother. I will find your cousins. I will find every man who has ever worked for you and every woman who has ever loved you, and I will put all of them, everyone in the ground. And when there is no one left to put in the ground, I will dig up your mother, Antonio, and I will do something to her bones that will make God himself weep. Charming, Dominic. Truly, but I don't want your daughter. I want the papers. 90 minutes. I will call you again with the location. Bring the old man. Bring the key once you get it out of the grandmother's hand. Do not bring guns. Do not bring friends. Do not bring the girl. A pause. Oh, and Dominic, one more thing. What? The girl, Elena. She's a pretty little thing, isn't she? The eyes, Dominic. The eyes. She has her grandmother's eyes. The line went dead. Nobody in the SUV spoke for 3 full seconds. Then Elena Ferraro said very calmly, I want a gun. Elena, I want a gun, Dominic. I have never fired a gun in my life. I don't care. I want one. Now. Elena, you are not going anywhere near where I am going. Yes, I am. No, you are not. Dominic Castellano, you listen to me. That woman raised me. That woman held me when I had pneumonia at 9 years old for 6 nights straight without sleeping. That woman washed dishes in a Brooklyn diner for 11 years to put me through college. That woman is the only person in this world who has ever loved me completely every single day since the second I was born. And you are going to sit here and tell me that the men who took her out of her hospital bed tonight are going to be in a room with you in 90 minutes, and I am not going to be in that room with you. You are out of your mind. Elena. No, it is not safe. It is not safe, her voice cracked. Dominic, I am a 26-year-old waitress who dropped 12 glasses of champagne on your shoes 3 hours ago. 4 hours ago, I was worried about covering rent. Nothing about my life is safe anymore. Nothing. You made sure of that the second you walked me out of that ballroom. So do not sit there and tell me what is safe, Joey Marchetti. Eyes on the road said quietly, Boss? What? She's right. Joey. Boss, she's the only one in this car Antonio Ricci wants to see walk through that door. He's not going to hurt the old woman as long as he thinks the granddaughter is still alive and still coming. If the granddaughter is in the room, boss, it's leverage. Same as his guy outside Sophia's building. Dominic was quiet, then he said, pull over. Boss, we're 4 minutes from the hospital. Pull over, Joey. Joey pulled over. Dominic turned in his seat. In the dim light of the SUV, he looked at Elena Ferraro. I have a daughter. I know. I have a daughter, Elena, and I cannot lose her. I cannot. I have already lost her mother, and I am telling you right now, I cannot lose that girl. Do you understand me? I do. And I have a father who is 81 years old, and I cannot lose him either because he is the only person on this earth who has ever known me before I was the man I am now. I understand. If you come with me tonight, Elena, I am promising you nothing. I am not promising you your grandmother back. I am not promising you my protection. I am not promising you that you will see tomorrow morning. I am a man with 3 people to protect and only 2 hands to do it with. Do you understand what I am telling you? I understand. Then say it. Say the words. Say you understand what you are choosing. Elena took a breath. It shook. She held it for a second. She let it out. I am choosing my grandmother, with my eyes open, in full knowledge that I may not live through the night. I am choosing Rosa Ferraro. I am choosing her because she chose me every day for 26 years. I understand. I accept. Drive the car. Dominic stared at her for a long, long moment. Then very softly he said, Madonna Santa, you really are her granddaughter. Drive, Dominic. He turned back around. Joey, drive. Joey drove. The SUV pulled up to the hospital loading dock 6 minutes later. 2 of Dominic's other cars were already parked there, his men standing in a loose practiced formation around the back entrance. Tommy Delarocco was waiting at the service door. 45 years old, built like a refrigerator, a smile on his face that was not a smile. Boss. Tommy, show me the room. This way. They moved fast, through the back corridor, past housekeeping. Up the stairs, Dominic would not get in an elevator tonight, not on a night when Antonio Ricci was this close and out onto the 4th floor of the East Wing. Room 416. The door was open. 2 of Dominic's men were standing inside, looking very carefully at nothing in particular. A woman in scrubs, Keisha, the nurse, was sitting in a chair by the window, still crying. Elena walked past all of them. She walked to the bed. She put her hand on the sheet. She stood there for a moment, breathing, and then she did something Dominic would remember for the rest of his life. She bent down. She put her face on the pillow where her grandmother's head had been, and she smelled it. Then she straightened up. She washed her hair this morning, Elena said. With the olive oil soap I brought her last Saturday. She only washes her hair when she feels well enough to get out of bed. She was planning to go home. She was planning to tell me something. Elena. Wait. Elena turned slowly, taking in the room. The IV pole, the chart on the floor, the table beside the bed with the rosary still laid across it. The small drawer of the bedside table still closed. She walked to the drawer. She opened it. Inside was a small, battered leather prayer book. The kind old Italian women carry to Mass. The gold on the edges of the pages had worn away to nothing. A faded ribbon was tucked into it as a bookmark. Elena picked up the prayer book. Her hands were trembling. Dominic. Yes. Come here. He came. She opened the prayer book to the ribbon. The ribbon was not on a page. The ribbon was tied very carefully around a small piece of paper folded in thirds. Her grandmother's handwriting, shaking, fresh, written perhaps in the 4 minutes between when the nurse left the room and the fake orderly walked in. Elena unfolded it. She read it. Her whole body went still. Elena, what does it say? She did not answer. Elena. Slowly, Elena Ferraro lifted her eyes from the piece of paper. They had stopped being the eyes of a waitress somewhere on that drive across Brooklyn. They were somebody else's eyes now, a stranger's eyes, an old woman's eyes in a young woman's face. She held the paper out to Dominic. He took it. He read it. 5 words in shaking old world Italian script. La chiave non è qui. The key is not here. Dominic's breath stopped. He turned the paper over. There was more on the back, fainter, written faster, as if whoever had written it had heard footsteps in the hall and had to finish in seconds. Cerca il bambino. Find the child. Dominic looked up. Elena. Who is the child? I don't know. Elena. I don't know. I swear to God, I'm an only child. My mother is an only child. I don't know what child she means, Dominic. Tommy Delarocco stepped into the room. Boss? Not now, Tommy. Boss, you need to hear this. Not now. Boss, the phone rang. Antonio's phone, the one they're bouncing through the switch. It rang 11 minutes early. He's on the line. He says it's urgent. He says to tell you, and I quote Domenico, I have just had very interesting conversation with the old woman. And I don't think she has what I thought she had. Which means you and I, Dominic, have a much bigger problem than either of us realized. End quote. He's waiting, boss. Dominic stared at this paper in his hand. La chiave non è qui. The key is not here. Cerca il bambino. Find the child. He looked at Elena. Elena was looking at the rosary on the bedside table with a face that had gone the color of paper. Elena, what is it? Dominic. What is it? Dominic. My grandmother, she had a baby before she married my grandfather in Sicily in 1951. She gave him up. She has never once in my life spoken about it. I only know because I found a photograph in her closet when I was 12, and she slapped me for the first and only time in my entire life and told me never to ask again. Dominic's heart slammed against his ribs. Elena, are you telling me? My grandmother, Eltida whispered, had a son by your grandfather Salvatore in 1951, and she gave him up before she ever married Giuseppe Ferraro. And nobody in our family, nobody on earth knows who that child is. Dominic Castellano felt the floor shift under his feet, because somewhere in the city of New York tonight, there was a man or a woman who did not know they existed. A man who was by blood the oldest living Castellano. A man who had been carrying a solid gold key around their neck their entire life, and was not his uncle. Tommy Delarocco was still holding the phone out. Antonio Ricci was still on the line. And Dominic Castellano, for the first time in 15 years of running the most dangerous family in the city, did not know what to do with his hands. Boss, he's waiting. I hear you, Tommy. Boss, he said 90 seconds or he hangs up. I hear you. Dominic turned his back on Tommy. He took 3 steps away. He pressed his palms into his eyes. Hard. Like a man trying to push a thought out of his own skull. A brother. Not an uncle. Not a cousin. A half-brother to his own father. Somewhere in this city. Alive. Breathing. walking around with a piece of gold around his neck that he probably thought was a family heirloom from some sweet old Italian mother he had never met. A man who did not know who he was. A man who did not know what he was carrying. A man who tonight was about to find out. Dominic, Elena's voice, close, right at his shoulder. Dominic, listen to me. Give me a second, Elena. We don't have a second. That phone is going to hang up, and when it hangs up, he is going to do something terrible to my grandmother, and we do not have one single thing to offer him in exchange for her. Pick up the phone. Elena. Pick up the phone, Dominic. He picked up the phone. Antonio. Domenico, I was beginning to worry. I'm here. You read the old woman's little note, didn't you? I saw the look on her face when she realized she'd been clever. She thought I wouldn't pat down the room, Dominic. Sweet, really. I left the note exactly where it was. I wanted you to find it. What do you want? I want what I have always wanted. I want the key. I want the papers. And now, thanks to our mutual friend Rosa, I want something else too. I want your brother. Dominic's jaw locked. He is not my brother Antonio. Of course he is, Domenico, your grandfather's firstborn son. Older than your father by 6 months. Legitimate by Sicilian blood. By old country law, Dominic, that man is the head of your family. Not you, not Victor. Him. And the best part is, he doesn't know. He doesn't know because my grandfather never told him. Your grandfather never found him, Dominic. There's a difference. The child was given up in Palermo in December of 1951. Your grandfather tried for 30 years to find that boy. Never did. Died trying. Rosa Ferraro took that secret with her to her marriage bed, and she kept it for 73 years. And tonight, she finally whispered it to a man in an orderly's uniform because that man told her that her granddaughter was going to be shot in a ballroom. Antonio. Yes, Dominic. Where is she? She's here with me, Domenico. She's drinking a cup of chamomile tea. She asked for it nicely. I gave it to her. But Rosa's tired, Dominic. She's very tired. And she's 94. And when old women get tired, sometimes their hearts just stop. So let me explain something to you very clearly. You are going to find your brother for me. Before the sun comes up, you are going to bring him to me. And you are going to bring that key, which is, as we now know, around his neck and not hers. And in return, I will give you back a living, breathing old woman who has, I assure you, been nothing but charming company. I don't even know his name, Antonio. How would I possibly? His name, Dominic, is Giovanni. Giovanni Castellano. He was given the surname of the woman who adopted him in Palermo, a childless widow named Moretti, and he was raised in the village of Monreale as Giovanni Moretti. In 1971, at the age of 19, he came to America on a student visa. He settled in Boston. He studied mathematics. He got a PhD. He married an Irish woman named Margaret O'Brien in 1978. He had one son in 1981, who he named Salvatore after the father he did not know he had. His son lives in Manhattan, on the Upper West Side, an attorney, a very successful one. Dominic's stomach went cold. Antonio, you already know where he is. I know where his son is, the old man Giovanni Moretti, PhD, retired professor of applied mathematics at Boston University, has been living in a small house in Newton, Massachusetts for the last 31 years, with his wife, with his dog, watching the Red Sox lose, blissfully unaware that he is the rightful heir to a criminal empire built on the bones of his own father's enemies. Then go take him yourself, Antonio. You don't need me. Oh, but I do, Dominic. Because if I show up at that sweet old professor's door tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning in a town full of cops who would not hesitate to arrest a man like me, I will be stopped before I get the key off his neck. But you, Dominic, with that nice Italian face of yours and a daughter of his own in the car with you to make him feel safe, and a young woman by the name of Ferraro who can tell him the whole sweet story of his birth. You, Dominic, can walk up to that old man's door at sunrise and you can knock and he will let you in. And you can tell him who he is. And you can bring him to me with the key he does not even know he is wearing, and you can save Rosa Ferraro's life. Dominic was silent. Dominic, I'm thinking, Antonio. Don't think too long. Rosa's tea is getting cold. And the boy outside Sophia's apartment is still there and will remain there until I call him off, which I will do, Dominic, at sunrise when you hand me Giovanni Moretti and that little gold key around his neck. Not 1 second before. The line went dead. Dominic stood in the hospital room holding the phone like it weighed 40 pounds. Elena was staring at him. So was Tommy. So was Joey, who had come up the back stairs 3 minutes ago and was now standing in the doorway with a face Dominic had not seen on Joey Marchetti in 20 years. The face of a man who knew the next 12 hours were going to be the worst 12 hours of somebody's life. Boss, Joey, I heard most of it. Then you know. I know. Elena stepped in front of Dominic. She put one small, shaking hand on his chest. Not to comfort him, to make him look at her. Dominic, is it true? Is there really a man in Massachusetts? Yes. A man who has been wearing my grandmother's key his whole life. Yes, Elena. A man who is your uncle, who is by blood the oldest man in your family. Yes. Elena's hand came off his chest and went to her own mouth. Her eyes filled. She did not cry. She did not let herself cry. But something behind her eyes broke and refilled with something new. My grandmother, she whispered, is going to tell me the whole story someday, isn't she? If we get her back, Elena, she is going to tell you the whole story tonight. I swear it on my daughter's life. Then get her back, Dominic. I will. I don't care what you have to do. I don't care who gets hurt. Get her back. I will. Dominic turned to Joey. Joey, how fast can we be in Newton, Massachusetts? Private plane out of Teterboro, 3 hours door to door if we move right now. Call Marco. Tell him to fuel the Gulfstream. We leave in 30 minutes. On it, boss. Tommy. Boss. I need 6 men sitting outside Sophia's apartment building in unmarked cars by the time that plane takes off. I need them to identify Antonio's man. I need them to watch him. They do not move. They do not engage. They do not let him see them. They just watch. And if he moves toward that building, Tommy, if he takes one step toward that door, my daughter's safety is worth more than the old woman's. Do you understand what I am telling you? Tommy's jaw clenched. I understand, boss. One more thing. Call my father. Tell him everything. Tell him I love him, Tommy. Tell him if I don't come back, the family goes to him. Not to Aunt Carmela, not to Uncle Sal, to him until Sophia is old enough. And after that to Sophia. Tell him that. Write it down if you have to. Boss, you're coming back. Tell him anyway. Yes, boss. Dominic turned. He walked out of the hospital room. Elena was 3 steps behind him. They did not speak in the elevator. They did not speak or in the back stairwell. They did not speak until they were in the SUV again. Joey already calling the airfield, 2 more cars falling in around them, the engine revving as they pulled out of the loading dock and onto the Brooklyn streets. Then Elena, staring straight ahead, said very quietly, Dominic. Yes. What are we going to do when we get there? He did not look at her. He was looking at his phone. He was texting his daughter. 3 words. Stay inside tonight. I love you. He did not expect her to answer. He did not need her to answer. He needed to know he had sent it in case he did not get another chance. Elena. Yes. We are going to ring that old man's doorbell. And we are going to tell him as gently as 2 people can possibly tell another human being that everything he thought he knew about his own mother, his own father, and his own life is a lie. And then we are going to ask him to come with us, voluntarily, on a plane, in the middle of the night, to rescue a 94-year-old woman he has never met who happens to be the only living person on this earth who knows the truth of who he is. And we are going to ask him to do this while wearing a solid gold key around his neck that he probably thinks was a baptismal gift from a dead aunt. Dominic. Yes. He is not going to believe us. I know. He is going to think we are insane. He is going to call the police. I know, Elena. So what do we do? Dominic turned to look at her. That, Elena, is why you are coming with me. Elena stared. Me. You. Because if that man sees a strange Italian man from New York on his porch at 5 in the morning, telling him that he is the secret son of a mafia boss, he will slam the door in my face and call the Newton police. But if he sees a young woman, a shaking, honest, red-eyed young woman, with his own mother's eyes, speaking in the old mountain Sicilian his birth mother used to whisper in his ear before she gave him up, Elena, I promise you that man will stand in the doorway. He will stand there long enough for us to talk. And that is all we need, 90 seconds on a doorstep. Dominic, I don't speak that dialect. I don't know how I spoke it at the party. I don't know what, Elena. I don't know, Dominic. Elena, you will speak it again. When you need to, you will speak it again. She was quiet for a long moment. How do you know that? Because I've been watching you for 4 hours, Elena Ferraro, and everything about tonight has already been inside you from the second you were born. You just didn't know your own name. The SUV hit the Gowanus Expressway. The city blurred past. The plane was fueled and ready on the tarmac at Teterboro by 1:52 in the morning. Marco the pilot did not ask questions. He was a man who had flown Castellanos across borders for 11 years. He knew when to open the door and when to close it. Elena had never been on a private plane before. She did not notice the leather. She did not notice the crystal. She sat by the window staring out at the runway lights, holding a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold 10 minutes ago, and she whispered over and over under her breath in Italian, so soft Dominic almost could not hear her. Nonna, Nonna, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. The plane took off at 2:06. At the cruising altitude, Dominic sat across from her, and he told her everything his father had ever told him about Salvatore Castellano, about the boy from Piana degli Albanesi who had come over on a boat with a rosary in his fist, about the girl he had loved and lost, about the warehouse on Pier 9, about the vault, about the 73 years of silence. And then he told her the part his father had never told him, the part he had only learned tonight in the last hour. My grandfather, he said quietly, died in 1984. He died of a stroke in his bed on the upstairs landing of our house in upstate New York. He was 72. He had not been right for a long time. The last year of his life, he kept asking for a boy named Giovanni. My father told me when I was 11 that my grandfather was confused, that he was calling for a cousin who had died in the war, that there was no Giovanni. Dominic looked at his hands. He was not confused, Elena. He was calling for his son. Dominic. He died calling for a son he never found. A son who was at that exact moment teaching freshman calculus at Boston University, and who had never once in his 33 years on Earth been told his father's name. Elena put her hand over her mouth. All these years, she whispered. All these years. What kind of woman does that, Dominic? What kind of woman takes a baby across an ocean and never tells the father and never tells the son and carries it for 73 years? Dominic thought about it for a long time before he answered. A woman who was very young, a woman who was very scared, a woman who was told probably by priests and her own mother that the child of a mobster was the child of the devil. A woman who thought she was saving that boy's life by giving him a clean name. A woman who, Elena, who probably cried every single night for the rest of her life, and who probably never ever forgave herself, and who probably wore that gold key under her dress for 73 years, because she could not give it up, and she could not give it away, and she could not confess what she had done to anybody she loved. Elena was crying now. My grandmother, she said, your grandmother, Elena. She never once told anybody. No, she carried it alone. For 73 years, she carried it alone. Yes. Oh, Nonna. Dominic reached across the small table between them. He did not take her hand. He did not touch her. He simply laid his open palm on the wood next to hers, close enough that she could take it if she wanted to. She did not take it, but she did not pull her hand back either. The plane touched down at Hanscom Field outside Boston at 3:58 in the morning. There was a black car waiting. Joey got behind the wheel. Two more of Dominic's men, Boston men cousins of his wife's men, who owed Lucia's family a favor from a long time ago, were in the back car. They did not speak. They simply followed. Newton was quiet. Newton was dark. Newton was the kind of town where at 4 in the morning, every light in every window was off, and the only sound was somebody's dog barking at a raccoon 2 streets over. The house was a small yellow colonial with white trim, a maple tree in the front yard, a basketball hoop in the driveway that had not been used in 20 years, a Subaru in the driveway, a welcome mat at the front door. It was the house of a professor. It was the house of an ordinary man. It was the house of the oldest living Castellano. Joey cut the engine a block away. They walked the last 100 yards on foot. Dominic, Elena, Joey, and one of the Boston cousins. The other 2 men stayed with the cars. At the foot of the driveway, Dominic stopped. Elena. Yes. When he opens the door, you are going to speak first. Not me, not Joey, you. You are going to say in English that you are Rosa Ferraro's granddaughter. You are going to say that his mother was a woman named Rosa. And then Elena, only if he does not close the door, you are going to say one sentence to him in the old dialect. The dialect you spoke tonight, anything at all. Hello, I'm sorry, my grandmother loves you. It does not matter what you say, it only matters that he hears it. Why? Because his birth mother whispered to him in that dialect for the 5 days she had him before she gave him away. And those 5 days, Elena, are somewhere deep inside him. A sound, a rhythm, a lullaby he cannot remember and has never stopped looking for. When he hears you speak it, Elena, he is going to know. In his bones, he is going to know. Elena nodded. Dominic? Yes, if he slams the door. Then we try again and again and again until he doesn't. And if Antonio calls before we get him on the plane, then we lie to Antonio. Elena nodded once more. They walked up the driveway. At the bottom of the porch steps, Dominic stopped Joey with one hand. Joey, you stay here, at the curb, gun down, hands visible. Do not come up these steps unless I wave. An old man with a wife and a wife cannot see 4 strangers on his porch at 4 in the morning. He will call the police and we will be finished. Yes, boss. Dominic and Elena went up the steps alone. At the front door, Dominic stopped. He looked at Elena. He did not say anything. He did not have to. Elena took a deep breath. She rang the doorbell. For a long time, nothing happened. Then a light came on in the upstairs hallway. Footsteps on the stairs. Slow. An old man's footsteps. A second light came on closer now, the living room. The footsteps stopped at the door. A voice behind the door. Gentle, thick with sleep. A faint Boston accent layered over something older. Hello, who is it, please? Elena opened her mouth. My name, she said, and her voice was steady, is Elena Ferraro. My grandmother is a woman named Rosa, and I think I have come a very long way, sir, to tell you something about your mother. Silence. A long silence. Then very slowly the lock on the door turned. The door opened 6 inches. An old man stood in the gap, 73 years old, silver hair, reading glasses hanging on a chain, a faded blue bathrobe over plaid pajamas, slippers, and around his neck, plainly visible over the collar of his pajamas, a small, thin gold chain, with something heavy and hidden tucked down underneath the flannel. His eyes were Elena's grandmother's eyes. He looked at her. He looked at Dominic. He looked back at her. Young lady, he said softly, I'm going to ask you to tell me that name one more time, the name of your grandmother. Rosa, sir, Rosa Maria Ferraro. The old man's face went the color of chalk. His hand, without his thinking about it, went up to his throat. It found the chain. It closed around whatever was hanging on the end of it. He did not say anything for a long moment. Then he said, barely above a whisper, you had better come inside. Elena stepped forward. Dominic followed. As she crossed the threshold, Elena did the one thing Dominic had asked her to do. She stopped. She looked up into the face of the old man who was impossibly her grandmother's lost son, and in a voice soft enough to break a heart, she said, Nonu, ti cercava da tanto tempo. Grandfather, she was looking for you for a very long time. The old man closed his eyes. A single tear rolled down his cheek and into his silver beard. And from somewhere far behind him, in the dark house, an ordinary cell phone plugged in on an ordinary kitchen counter next to an ordinary bowl of fruit began suddenly and urgently to ring. Giovanni Moretti did not move when the phone began to ring. He stood in his own front hallway at 4 in the morning in a faded blue bathrobe, with his hand around a small gold key that he had worn under his pajamas every night for 73 years. And he looked at the young woman on his porch like she had just reached into his chest and pulled out something he had been missing his entire life. Giovanni, a voice from the top of the stairs, a woman's voice, soft, Irish, sleep thick. Gio, who's at the door? Maggie, go back to bed. Gio, it's 4 in the morning. Margaret, his voice was not loud, it was not sharp, but it was different. It was perhaps the first time in 48 years of marriage that his wife had heard that particular tone come out of his mouth. Please, my love, go back to bed. I will be up in a little while. A pause on the stairs. Gio, are you in trouble? No, sweetheart. Is it that boy from Manhattan? Is something wrong with Salvatore? Nothing is wrong with our son Maggie, I promise you. Please, go back to bed. The footsteps retreated. A door closed softly upstairs. The phone on the kitchen counter kept ringing. Giovanni looked at Dominic, then at Elena, then at the phone. That, he said quietly, is not my phone. Sir. I mean, it is my phone, my cell phone. I had it on the counter. But at this hour, young lady, nobody calls me. Not my son, not my brother-in-law, nobody. That phone does not ring at 4 in the morning. He looked at Dominic with eyes that were suddenly a lot sharper than they had been 30 seconds ago. Which means somebody who should not have this number has gotten this number. Tonight. Sir, my name is Dominic Castellano. I heard the young lady call you Dominic. May I come inside, sir? I know how this looks. I know how it sounds. I'm asking you, please. Let me come inside. Let her come inside and give me 5 minutes. 5. And if at the end of those 5 minutes you want us to leave, we will leave. You have my word. Giovanni Moretti stood in his own doorway for a long, long moment. Then he stepped back. Come in, quietly. My wife has a heart condition. They came in. He closed the door behind them. He turned the lock. The phone on the kitchen counter rang one more time and went silent. He walked past it without looking at it. He walked into the living room. He turned on a single lamp. He sat down in an old leather chair that had the shape of him worn into it, and he folded his hands on his lap like a man waiting to hear the results of a surgery. Sit down, both of you. They sat. Young lady, Elena, was it? Yes, sir. You said your grandmother's name is Rosa. Rosa Maria Ferraro. Is she alive? She is, sir. For now. Giovanni's eyes closed. Briefly, he opened them. Tell me, please. Everything. From the beginning. As fast as you can, and do not leave anything out. Because I have waited, young lady, I have waited 73 years for somebody to come to this door and say that name to me. Dominic turned to Elena. Elena turned to the old man. And she told him everything in 6 minutes. The ballroom, the Sicilian words, the note in the prayer book, the empty hospital bed, Antonio Ricci, the vault, the warehouse, the papers, the child, the phone call in the car, the plane, the porch. The old man did not interrupt. He did not ask a single question. He sat with his hands folded, and he listened the way a professor listens to a student defending a dissertation completely patiently and with the full weight of his attention. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I have worn this key, young lady, since I was 3 years old. My adoptive mother, Emilia Moretti, may she rest in peace, gave it to me in Palermo on the day of my first communion. She told me it was a gift from a woman who had loved me very much and who had not been able to keep me. She told me that if I ever met that woman, I should give her the key back and she would know who I was. She never told me the woman's name. She said she had sworn an oath not to. I asked her once when I was 15, and she cried so hard I never asked again. He paused. And that young lady is everything I have ever known about my own mother. Until tonight. Elena could not speak. May I ask you something, child? Anything, sir. My mother, Rosa, did she think of me, ever? Elena's voice cracked. Sir, she has a small wooden box in the bottom drawer of her dresser. It is locked. She has had it my whole life. I asked her once what was in it, and she said, a boy I used to know who did not get to grow up with me. I thought she meant a brother, sir. I thought she meant her little brother Luca, who drowned. But I don't think that's who she meant, sir. I think she meant you. I think she has thought about you every single day, sir, for 73 years. Giovanni Moretti, professor of applied mathematics, emeritus, Boston University class of 1975, began to cry. He did not make a sound. He simply sat in his leather chair in his faded blue bathrobe, and he let the tears run down his face. Dominic looked away. Elena did not. Sir, Dominic said gently after a moment. The phone. I know, Dominic. He's going to call again. I know. The old man wiped his face with the back of his hand. He took a breath. He straightened in his chair. And in that single motion, Dominic watched the mathematician fall away and something underneath come to the surface. Something very old. Something very Sicilian. Something that had been sleeping in Giovanni Moretti for 73 years, waiting for a reason to wake up. This man, this Richie, he is the grandson of Carmine Ritchie. Yes, sir. Carmine Ritchie, who, according to my adoptive mother's husband, God rest him, once threatened to murder a young pregnant girl in Palermo in 1951 if she did not give up the child she was carrying. Dominic froze. Sir, my father Enrico Moretti was a lawyer in Palermo, a very honest one. He died when I was 11, but he told me on his deathbed that the reason my mother Amelia had adopted me was because a young woman had come to him in 1951, 8 months pregnant, terrified, and told him that a man named Carmine Ritchie had threatened to kill her and the father of her child, and the child itself, if she did not get rid of the baby. She did not want to get rid of the baby. So my father, my adoptive father, he arranged with the church for that woman to give birth in secret, for the child to be given to a woman who could not have one of her own, and for the woman to go back to her village and tell no one, not even the father, that the child had lived. Elena's hand was over her mouth. Sir, she whispered, my grandmother never knew. She never knew you were alive. She thought you had died. I know, child. She thought she had lost you. I know. The key she kept all these years. She thought she was keeping a memory of a baby who was dead. Elena, Dominic, she doesn't even know he's alive. Right now, tonight. She is sitting in a room with Antonio Ritchie, and she has been carrying a key for 73 years for a baby she buried in her own heart, and she does not even know. Elena, breathe. She tried. She could not quite. Giovanni Moretti stood up. He crossed the living room slowly. He stood in front of Elena. He was not a tall man. He was not an imposing man. He was a 73-year-old retired professor in slippers. But there was something in his face in that moment that made Dominic Castellano understand completely bone deep why his own grandfather had spent the last year of his life calling for this child. Giovanni took Elena's face gently in both of his hands. Child, he said softly, my mother is going to know tonight. Before the sun comes up, my mother is going to see my face. I swear it to you on my wife's life and on the life of my only son. She will not die thinking I am dead. Do you understand me? Yes, sir. Now we are going to go and get her back. Sir, the plane. Let me put on pants, child. Let me kiss my wife on the forehead. And then Dominic Castellano, you and I are going to fly to New York, and we are going to have a conversation with this Richie boy. Sir. Yes, Dominic. I have to tell you, there is a very real possibility that I will not come home tonight. Yes, I understand. I am a mathematician. I understand probabilities. He smiled barely. I have been waiting, Dominic, for 73 years to meet my mother. I will take the odds. He walked toward the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs, he stopped. He turned back. Dominic. Sir. The man in the white dinner jacket. The one who has her. Yes. When this is finished. What happens to him? Dominic did not answer immediately. The old man nodded, once. Small. Good, he said quietly, and he went upstairs. He was back in 8 minutes dressed, his hand trembling slightly on the banister. Margaret was in the upstairs hall in her own bathrobe, one hand on his arm. They did not speak. He simply kissed her on the forehead 3 times slowly and whispered something in her ear. She nodded. She did not cry until he had turned his back, and then only quietly, one hand pressed over her mouth. Giovanni Moretti did not look back. They were on the plane by 4:45. They were in the air by 4:52. The eastern sky was just beginning to turn the color of old iron as the jet banked south. At 5:03, Antonio Ritchie called. Dominic put it on speaker. He wanted Giovanni to hear. He wanted Elena to hear. Domenico. Antonio. You have been a busy little bee tonight. I have what you wanted. Do you? I have him. He is on the plane with me. He is sitting across from me right now. A long pause. Put him on Domenico. No. Domenico, if you do not... Antonio, listen to me. You are going to listen very carefully. I have the man. I have the key. I have the granddaughter. I am flying to Teterboro. I will land in approximately 90 minutes. You will give me an address. We will come, all 4 of us. We will walk in unarmed. You will produce Rosa Ferraro alive, unhurt, in the same condition in which you took her. And we will do this quietly and professionally, and when it is done, every one of us is going to walk out of that building, including you. Because the old man has asked me personally not to do to you what I was going to do to you, and I am honoring his request. But if you are not at that address with Rosa, if you have hurt her, if one hair on her head is out of place, Antonio, I will forget that the old man ever asked me anything. Are we clear? Silence. Then Antonio Ricci laughed, softly, almost warmly. Domenico, I do believe I hear a new voice in your ear, a deeper voice, an older voice. A pause. Put him on Dominic. I will not ask again. Dominic looked at Giovanni. The old man held out his hand. Dominic gave him the phone. Antonio Ricci. That is my name, old man. My name is Giovanni. I am Salvatore Castellano's firstborn son. I am Rosa Ferraro's firstborn son. I am eldest of the Castellano name. Your grandfather threatened my mother in 1951. He tried to have me killed before I was born. I have known this since I was 11 years old, and I have lived every day of my life since my father told me, waiting for the day I would say what I am about to say to a Ricci. So listen to me now, I am coming. Personally, I am bringing the key. Do you understand me? Not Dominic, me. And when I walk into whatever room you are keeping my mother in, I will be walking in as the oldest Castellano alive. And the Castellano name still carries weight, even after 73 years, even in that room. Antonio Ricci did not speak for a long moment. Then he said, Professor, you understand you are walking into the end of your life. I understand I am walking in to see my mother for the first time in 73 years. After that, whatever happens, happens. But you will let her leave Antonio. She walks out on her own feet, alive. Or the papers in that vault burn tonight before the sun is fully up. Because Dominic Castellano is carrying a can of gasoline onto this airplane, and if anything happens to Rosa Ferraro, he has my permission, on the blood of my father, Salvatore, to torch that warehouse to the ground before you ever get inside it. Do we understand each other, young man? Professor, I'm beginning to like you. Give me the address, Antonio. Antonio gave him the address. The line went dead. Giovanni handed the phone back to Dominic. His hand was completely steady. Elena was staring at him with a face Dominic could not read. Sir, she whispered, are you really bringing gasoline? No, child, but he does not know that. And Giovanni Moretti, professor of applied mathematics, retired, smiled for the first time since he had opened the front door of his house in Newton, Massachusetts. The plane landed at Teterboro at 6:27. Joey was already there with 3 cars. Dominic gave 3 quick orders. The first 6 more men positioned 2 blocks from the address Antonio had given. No closer, no engagement, watching only. The second, Sophia, doubled security, moved quietly to the upstate compound. The third, his father, Victor, was to stay at the St. Regis. Under no circumstances was the old man to come near this. Joey did not ask questions. The address was a shipping company on the Brooklyn waterfront, 2 blocks from Pier 9, 2 blocks from the warehouse where 73 years ago, Salvatore Castellano had buried the sins of a family he had built with his own 2 hands. The cars stopped. Dominic, Elena, Giovanni, and Joey got out. Joey stayed at the car. The other 3 walked alone across a cracked concrete lot toward a small, ordinary office door. The door opened before they reached it. Antonio Ricci stood in the doorway, white dinner jacket still, no tie, a small, tired smile. Professor, Domenico, Miss Ferraro, please, come in. She is waiting for you. They went in. Rosa Ferraro was sitting in a metal chair in the middle of the bare office. Her hair was loose. Her hospital gown had been replaced with a simple gray cardigan somebody had draped over her shoulders. Her hands were folded in her lap. There were 2 of Antonio's men standing 3 feet behind her, hands visible, not on weapons. She looked up when the door opened. She looked at Elena first. Her whole face crumpled. Elena piccola mia grazie a Dio. Nonna. Elena ran to her. She fell on her knees. She put her face in her grandmother's lap and she cried. Rosa put one thin veined hand on the back of her granddaughter's head and whispered things into her hair in a dialect nobody else in the room understood. Dominic did not move. Neither did Antonio. And then Rosa Ferraro looked up. She looked at Giovanni. She had not been told. Nobody had told her. Antonio Ricci, for all his cruelty, had not told her. She looked at an old man in his 70s with silver hair and reading glasses on a chain standing 3 feet inside the doorway, and Rosa Ferraro, 94 years old, 2 days out of a surgical recovery ward, exhausted beyond the reach of sleep, went absolutely still. Signore, she whispered. Giovanni Moretti could not speak. He took one step forward, then another. He stopped 6 feet from her chair. Slowly, without taking his eyes off his mother's face, he reached up and he pulled the small gold key out from under his shirt. He held it up, between 2 fingers, into the light. Rosa Ferraro's hand went to her mouth. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Mama, Giovanni said softly. It was a word he had not said in that voice in 70 years. Mama, sono io. Mother, it's me. Rosa Ferraro came up out of that chair on her own, 2 feet past the stunned arms of Antonio Ricci's men, and she walked one slow, impossible step after another across the concrete floor, and she took her son's face in her 2 small shaking hands, and she looked at him, and she looked at him, and she looked at him for a very, very long time. Then she whispered, Giovanni, you got so big. And she fell into his chest, and her son, 73 years old, a professor of mathematics, a man who had waited a lifetime, held his mother for the first time since she had been 18 years old in a hospital in Palermo. Nobody in that room spoke. Not Elena, not Dominic, not even Antonio Ricci. The moment held. Long enough to matter. Long enough to become in memory the only thing that had happened that night that did not ever need to be explained to anybody. Then Antonio Ricci cleared his throat very softly. The key, Professor. Giovanni did not turn around. He did not let go of his mother. The key, Antonio, is around my neck. You may take it off my body. When I am dead. Antonio's smile faltered. Professor, we had an agreement. We had an agreement that I would come here. I came. We had an agreement that my mother would walk out of this room alive. She will. I am rewriting the last line of our agreement, Antonio. The key stays with me. The papers in that vault stay sealed. Forever. My father's sins and your grandfather's sins in the names of every judge and senator who ever took a Castellano dollar stay buried. Because you, Antonio, do not get to be the next king of New York. Not tonight. Not on my mother's life. Not ever. Antonio Ricci's face went cold. Professor, you do not understand what you are doing. I understand perfectly, Antonio. Professor, I have men. 4 men in this building, 6 more outside. You and the girl and Domenico are not walking out of here with that key. Antonio. It was Dominic's voice. Quiet. Almost bored. Antonio turned. I have 21 men outside this building, Antonio, positioned around the entire block. I have 6 more on the roof across the street. I have a sniper, a very good one, on a window 300 yards east of this office, with a clear shot on you right now where you are standing. He has had that shot for 7 minutes. He has not taken it because I asked him not to take it until I signal. Antonio did not move. Professor Moretti is going home tonight. So is his mother. So is Elena. So am I. And you, Antonio, you are also going home tonight because the old man asked me not to kill you. But you are going home without the key and without the papers and without your grandfather's revenge. And tomorrow morning, you and every man who works for you are going to wake up and find that your accounts have been frozen, your warehouses have been sold, and every political friend your family has in this city has very quietly decided not to take your phone calls anymore. Not because of anything I did, but because, Antonio, I made one single call on that plane this morning to a man in Washington whose name is written on a piece of paper in my grandfather's vault. And I told him that an old agreement made in 1957 between the Castellano family and his father was being called in. Antonio Ricci's jaw worked. Nothing came out. You are done in this city, Antonio. Dominic, you are done. Go home. Kiss your wife. Move to Florida. Live quietly. And never ever say the name Ferraro out loud again. Antonio Ricci stood in his white dinner jacket in an empty office on the Brooklyn waterfront, and he understood completely finally without appeal that he had already lost. He nodded. Once. Small. He turned. He walked out the door. His men followed. They did not look back. Dominic let them go. Because an hour later, on a small private pier 2 miles north of that office, Giovanni Moretti, professor, emeritus eldest, Castellano, son of Salvatore and Rosa, took the small gold key off his neck for the first time in 70 years. And he and Dominic and Elena and Rosa walked together into the warehouse on Pier 9, and they opened the vault. And then one by one, page by page, for 6 quiet hours, as the sun came up over the harbor, they fed every single piece of paper into the steel incinerator in the back of that warehouse. Every name, every bribe, every body. 73 years of the Castellano family's sins burned by the hand of the son Salvatore Castellano had spent his whole life trying to find. When it was done, Rosa Ferraro kissed her son on both cheeks. Elena Ferraro took her grandmother home to Brooklyn. Dominic Castellano called his daughter and told her he was coming home. 3 months later, on a small hill in Piana degli Albanesi, Giovanni Moretti stood with his mother at the grave of Salvatore Castellano, which had been moved quietly to the village cemetery at Rosa's request. He placed the small gold key on top of the stone. He kissed his mother's hand. He went home to Boston, to his wife, to his garden. And the Castellano family, what was left of it, what was clean of it, began for the first time in 75 years to live a life that did not have a dead man's voice in its ear. Elena Ferraro, 26, former waitress, stood in her grandmother's kitchen the following Sunday morning. She was holding a cup of coffee. The sun was coming through the window onto the old flowered tablecloth. Her grandmother was humming softly a song from a mountain village outside Palermo that Elena had known her whole life and had never understood the words to. The doorbell rang. Elena opened the door. Dominic Castellano stood on the step. He was holding a bouquet of small white flowers. He was wearing for the first time since Elena had known him a face that was not afraid of anything. Miss Ferraro. Mr. Castellano, I am not here on business. I can see that. Your grandmother told me on the phone last night that she makes a very good Sunday lunch. Elena smiled, slowly. It was a smile her grandmother had never seen on her face before. Come in, Dominic. He came in, and the door of a small apartment in Brooklyn closed behind the two of them, and the long night of Dominic Castellano's life was finally over. Rosa Ferraro had found her son. Giovanni Moretti had found his mother. Dominic Castellano had buried his ghosts. And Elena Ferraro, the waitress in the borrowed black dress, had walked into a ballroom, a stranger to her own blood, and walked out of it 7 days later, knowing exactly who she was. In the end, the Castellanos did not fall. The Richies did not rise. The papers did not see the light of day. A 94-year-old woman went home to her own bed, and she slept that night without dreaming for the first time in 73 years. And on the gravestone of Salvatore Castellano, under the cold stone and the small gold key on a hill, in a Sicilian village that had been waiting 3 generations to stop grieving, 7 words had been newly carved into the marble. Found at last by the son he lost. The story was over. The family was whole, and the oath was kept.